Robin. Thanks, Robin.
All right.
All right.
Welcome, everybody. We're going to call the academic committee meeting to order. First thing that we always do is stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and the flag is over there on the wall. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let me just welcome everybody to today's meeting. Thank you very much for those of you giving up your time after school, after work, after a long day. Everybody's input is so important. And the way that we run this meeting is pretty casual because we want everyone to share ideas and thoughts. The only thing I ask is that we stay on topic and we don't talk over each other. Okay? So with that, the first item on the agenda that we need to do is approve the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
Discussion is that we're going to we're not going to approve the minutes at this one. We'll do those at the next one. Okay, so we're going to take that out.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. Public comments. Anybody want to say anything or just say it during the, you're good? Okay, wonderful. All right, first thing on the docket is the textbook adoption. And you know, it might be really good. Why don't we go around and just introduce ourselves? Let's do that real fast. You want to start?
Yeah, I'll start.
Yeah.
I am Heather Brabham. I am the Social Studies and Fine Arts Coordinator.
I'm DJ Wilson. I'm a literacy teacher at Okatee, and I'm also interning with Dr. White in the cohort with the Citadel.
I'm Mel Campbell. I'm board member from District 10.
Kathy Robang, board member, District 8.
And Tricia Fidrich, board member, District 4.
Christina Guads, board member, District 9.
Mary Stratos, Chief Instructional Officer of the Buchanan School District.
Robin Cushenberry, board assistant. Jody Srutek. I don't work for the district.
You're a parent.
Parent.
Very important parent.
Yeah.
Stakeholder number 1.
SIC, member, whatever, all that.
Nancy Varsity, biology teacher at Beaufort High School.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much. You want to go ahead and start?
Sure. Okay, so in your folder you have a packet. It is highlighted on the front. I want to go to the third page actually that says the BCSD textbook evaluation process. So the purpose of this is to give you an idea of how we select textbooks. So we have not selected textbooks at this time. We are going through an adoption for K-5 for math, 6-8 for math, and 7th grade social studies, 4-5 social studies, and 3rd grade social studies. You'll see some other courses highlighted on that, and I'll get to that in just a second. But this is our evaluation process for all of the content areas. So first what we do is we have all of the publishers send textbooks out to all of the schools. So any publisher that is approved by the state, there's a committee that we select teachers, not we, the state selects teachers from various counties around the state to put textbooks on the state adoption list. So the textbooks that we are selected by teachers across the state, so then we have a variety. So for grades such as 4, 5, and 3rd in social studies, there's only one publisher. So technically we don't have any selection process. Those are the textbooks that we are selecting. If everybody approves of that. But yes, but for math, there is about 6 publishers for K-5. And I think there's about 7 or 8 for 6-8. And then for social studies for 7th grade, there are 5 different publishers to choose from. So what we do as a county is, again, all the publishers send the schools the textbooks. They use this rubric on the back to score each publisher, regardless if they like the publisher or not. Every rubric is completed for a publisher. And the department, the school, however the school determines to select the book, the highest scoring publisher is their selection. So all of the teachers sign the rubric, so we have documentation that one person did not complete the rubric for the entire school, and then we collect all of the hard copies of this rubric. And then the majority of, if the school participates, which we hope, anticipating all of them participate, but once we get these at the district level, we go through all of them, tally them up again to make sure their math was correct, and then we go with the majority of the selected textbook for all content areas, so it's not different per content area. So then at that point, there is a document that the board receives, that was the back of the first page, and you will see all of the signatures of the department heads that selected and submitted the rubrics to the district. And you will have all of the information as far as the publisher, who was on the committee, all of that information that you may or may not want to see.
May I interrupt just for a
Yeah,
second?
go for it.
Mr. Campbell, we should have gone over that way too, to have you introduce yourself if you would.
That's okay. I think everybody knew who I am.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I get it. My very true, yes.
That's okay.
So if you go to the very front page, this is the state's priority list. So even though you see subjects on here, that does not necessarily mean that funding is going to go through. So this is just their priority list. The ones that are highlighted in green are ones that are up for adoption right now, and then these ones down below will move up eventually. Sorry about the highlighted visual performing arts. That was for my use, because I am the fine arts coordinator as well. So they're not getting adopted at this time, but it is on the document.
Just the first 8 are getting adopted?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
And these are unfunded, you said?
These will be funded.
These will be funded?
Yes, so the pre-order process will start in March. Our selections are due March 13th, and they will come to you the next academic committee. If the dates roll out that way.
And if we don't select in this adoption, then we end up in a situation that we're
Yes.
obligated to for our own adoption.
Right.
Then we incur the cost.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we don't want to do that.
No.
Not at this time.
No, we have lots of other ideas for those dollars.
Yes.
So you are the coordinator?
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
You are the one when it says here, I was reading this earlier, the district textbook coordinator.
No, I am not.
Okay.
That falls under Stacy Cleveland. She is in my office, and
Okay.
she works very closely with all of the content coordinators and the directors of elementary and secondary.
She coordinates the orders and the distribution.
Okay.
Heather and Melissa work very close with Stacy. They're in the same suite area.
Uh-huh.
But Stacy does the coordination of the whole orders for the schools.
Okay.
So she puts it
Classified personnel.
into Destiny, which is the state's
Yeah.
depository of textbooks.
So now, what were you saying about the yellow as opposed to the green?
The green is what is being adopted now.
When you say that, what do you mean, adopted now?
The state has said that there will be funding.
What about the high school territory? That look like all high school stuff down
So
below.
that is a priority of the state, but funding is not up for those adoptions right now.
What does that mean?
So that means it will probably be
To
next
us.
year. For us,
Yeah.
that means next year there will probably be an adoption process for those courses.
So we'll keep the books we're using now?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there a math and science coordinator at the district right now?
No, there is not.
Please, yes.
So typically, how long, once you've adopted a text, does it stay in circulation?
I think it depends because social studies, we just went through an adoption about 4 years ago, K-12, and because we're getting new standards next year for social studies, the state put it on a priority list for this year because we have new courses, specifically in 7th grade and 3rd grade. And so it just depends. Typically, I want to say it's anywhere from 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Because ELA for elementary hasn't had an adoption in 11 years.
Correct.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, 11 years. And we're interviewing for the math and science staff position. They truncated it to one.
I was surprised when I saw this because I know social studies not being tested. That was the new rule by the state, that social studies is not to be tested. So I was surprised to see that they were adopting new textbooks for it. So I think you just answered that though, because there are new standards coming out.
Yes, ma'am.
But world geography, I mean, it's been 5 or 6 years, you said, since new books have been adopted probably in social studies?
Yes, ma'am. Mhm.
So the world geography has probably altered a little bit as far as the political boundaries, but not
I
much.
don't think it was much of a course. Isn't there also a realignment of the sequence of courses
Correct.
that is impacting the adoption cycle as well.
Okay. Okay,
So-
so, yeah, because seventh grade was more, wasn't it, history?
Yes,
US
ma'am.
history and,
It's world history.
world history?
Yes, ma'am, from Renaissance to present.
Okay. Okay, so it's more geography.
Yes, so seventh grade will be strictly world regions.
Okay.
And so what happened was the seventh grade course is now in the sixth grade course. So now they are doing prehistory to present day, and it's more of a survey course. So the sixth grade curriculum is just extended, and the
Okay.
seventh grade curriculum is now world regions. So they will
got
not be
it.
teaching the historical aspect unless it is embedded or they
Yeah.
decide to.
Okay.
Yeah, none of these cover sixth grade.
Well, we just went through an adoption with sixth and seventh grade.
Oh,
So
okay.
the seventh grade textbooks are in pretty good condition, should be in pretty good condition.
But the content for sixth grade hasn't changed?
No,
It's-
ma'am.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay, I misunderstood.
Not drastically enough for
Okay.
them to need a brand new
Okay.
textbook. Right.
Okay.
Heather, will there be much PD for the teachers necessary for the new adoption, for the ancillary materials?
So the PD is more towards the online portion of it and just
Okay.
working in the platform.
Okay.
And that was my next question. You know, some of these unfunded textbooks that we would want to adopt, I'm sure they are also available online.
Yeah, so the majority of the textbooks that come out now all have an online component. And I just went to the textbook caravan today in Charleston this morning, and there are some publishers that are putting out straight online
Yeah.
and one hard copy or all hard copies in a limited online version. So it really depends on the publisher
Okay.
that the teachers decide to go with.
And was that part of the criteria? Was that part of like, someone deciding whether to, you know, I looked at this, but I didn't memorize it.
Right.
You know, whether or not it was available online or if it was straight up hard
No,
copy?
because typically when we do a pre-order, we will order everything that comes with the textbook.
But I think
Maybe
the question was
maybe I
in
didn't
the
understand. I'm sorry.
evaluation
So,
rubric.
right,
Right,
so,
sorry.
and it's not, but in order to meet the one-to-one ratio, so the online version is taken into consideration since we have a one-to-one relationship,
Okay,
right?
right.
I would think so. I
Right,
mean,
yeah,
since we
that's
have
what
that,
Yes.
you know,
So, what it
and I
is-
was wondering too, whether or not, you know, whether on the evaluation part of it, if whomever was on the selection committee of the individual schools, if that was an important
I didn't
component
see
for
it.
them.
I
So
Yeah,
So typically, the online component is the exact same thing that you get in the textbook. The only difference is you can write in it and type in it and print from the online version. So if they're in the textbook on the online portion, they can highlight in the textbook. It's more of an ancillary material rather than a completely separate entity. Does that make sense?
so it's
Just
not,
like a mirrored version of the textbook almost.
it doesn't give, you know, like deeper and.
There might be,
you know,
there might be videos, there might be,
Yeah,
yeah.
supplements, but typically, the book is just like online.
Yes.
It's exactly the same thing, page for page, word for word, but it gives you an opportunity to service that child who didn't bring his book.
Right.
And
mhm,
teachers have been going from individual books to just class sets.
Right.
Yes, right.
You don't even have to take it home.
Saves money.
Mhm.
Yeah, it
And
saves money.
and
So I don't know where we are with that now.
Right.
Now, I left the system 5 years ago, but that's where we were. You know, when I left, basically, we were deciding, Mel, what do you want, class set, or you want each one of your child to have a book? It depends on the, level of student
Correct.
and responsibility, but that's, you guaranteed, if you had a book there, you could say, all right, get a book
Right.
set, or
Yeah.
let's look at it on the board.
Mhm.
You know.
And the ancillary materials used to come in paperback, so when you would get a new textbook, you would get like 13 copies of all of these extra worksheets that went with that.
Right.
And now that component
Is online.
Is online.
That's online
Yeah, so
also.
you're not getting all of those
Yeah, all
printed
that
books
stuff.
to keep in your bookshelf to
Yes.
print off.
Yeah.
They're all online.
So I had a question, and I don't know if this is maybe for you or maybe for you, but with the online versus paper book, has there been, I mean, we've had digital books now for, 10 years, kind of in mainstream. Is there any data to show that students learn better with paper versus digital books, or retain the material better, or if there is a difference between grade levels, like maybe younger students do better with print, older students do better with digital. I know for me, I tend to not retain the information as much if I don't have that tactile component of flipping the pages, you know? But the ability to highlight and make notes and stuff digitally is valuable as well. So, I mean, has anybody ever done any data on that? Do we know?
Well, what you're asking for is actually a study with regard to the impact of technology on student learning. Right, so that would be a given that everyone in this room is utilizing that technology in the same manner.
Yeah.
So that's the
Be
one
tough thing to come to
qualifier
any-
to
Yeah.
put out
Any
there. So,
resolution
yeah.
with,
Now-
because plus the students are changing too.
Right.
Well, right. I mean, and then my follow up with that would be like, are there students, you know, perhaps with ADD that maybe
So
have
generally-
different challenges?
So generally, from that, from an administrative perspective, we keep, or I have kept, technological, right, the technology form and a hardcover for kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just ask for the opportunity for it to be signed out. You go to the media center, the media specialist signs it out on Destiny. That is signed out to you. Parent normally would take a photo of your license. Mom, you've now promised.
Yeah,
God, it's
okay.
$85.96. And that book will be returned at the end of the academic school year, so
Yeah.
that child could have that tax file for it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I apologize, my allergies are killing me.
Mm-hmm.
First year here.
Yeah.
Welcome to Beaufort.
thank you, I appreciate it.
Another gift.
Could we do a print screen, right, when we do our notes and do a PDF, and could a kid do a backup and keep a file?
Say that one more time.
So, I pull up my US history textbook,
Do that.
right, and I'm doing notes. Do the students have the capability to say, Miss Crabtree, can I print? And could they print the notes that they did and then create a file, or do we only keep an electronic file as students?
No, you can print it.
Right, yes.
And it also varies on
That's
platform
helpful.
as well.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that would be up to the teacher to, they could actually do spool in from their device into a classroom printer or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that-
And, I'm sorry, Jody, that I do remember one report, I can't remember the name of it, and it was talking about learning. And it said informational text, they found the study, and I don't remember what grade it was, but they found that students retain more informational text when they do it hard copy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know, literary text, you know, their comprehension of literary text was much higher, as far as compared to the informational. So
Right.
when you're really doing that close reading,
Yeah.
and you're trying to find out exactly those details, and you know that they found the hard copy's better.
Yeah.
But I
And
can't remember
I
the name
think
of that
so,
study.
but like to
ISTE
your point.
has information out on ISTE. They do have information on the research study, what's best practice for technology for children
Yeah.
and for learning.
Yeah.
They do very good research papers.
And I think the key to that is the interaction with if you're doing it on the screen, it's the interaction. It's engaging
Yeah.
your body. You know, anytime, like with young kids, we have them cross midline because when they do that, they remember, it makes better connections to their brain. So anything that you do with your finger on
Huh.
that screen
Yeah,
will
interesting.
increase your brain activity to put that in. So then taking it the extra step after you do that,
Right.
print it out.
Well, and too,
Yeah.
like printing it, just the components you would need, because a lot of the students probably have a baseline knowledge for a fair amount of the text, but then there are some things that maybe they aren't
Yeah.
as familiar with,
Right.
so just using those, pulling those pieces makes sense.
And one new component that a lot of publishers are putting out is a remediation. So if they're taking the assessment on their computer, the publishers have the remediation so the teacher can go in and see the data
Ah.
to see where they need to reteach. And that was new that I learned today at the textbook caravan.
So they're actually putting a formative assessment.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
know, it's amazing.
That's
It's almost like personalized learning through a textbook. That's
Yes, and
made
that's how it should be.
national. Like,
Mhm.
And did they identify which
So-
publishers would have that
I can't, I only know of social studies,
Okay,
so
all right,
yes.
all right. Because that is,
Yeah. And it's by standard.
Mhm.
yes, so now I need to find an algebra.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I sent
Yes,
some
question.
numerics, I'll speak to Carmen, okay, because that would work.
Did you want to say something? Do you have any questions?
So this, yeah, this today is just you sharing with us the process.
Correct.
And then you're going to, after the process is completed, you'll bring what the selections
Yes.
are.
And I can bring you
Okay.
copies
Yep.
and I can show you the platform
Yeah.
for social studies. I can't speak for math, but,
Okay, and the last question I have on this though is that I see that K-5 includes the Spanish version, 6-8 does not, or do they all pretty much do online now?
they're all online and the majority of them translate into Spanish.
Did you? Okay, all right. So you don't need a motion on this, we're not bringing
No,
this to,
we
yeah.
wanted to use this as an opportunity to get some background information.
Yeah.
So that when we come forward, it's not all,
Right. One thing I know that we have always asked in the past is what type of participation did you get? You know, was it just the department head making the sole decision? Who was involved, right, Madeline?
That's important.
And that's why I
Yeah,
require
so
all of them to sign the bottom of the rubric
Uh-huh,
when they submit it. So
Yeah.
that we should have plenty of people on there and not just one
Okay.
person.
and I can speak to the math, we had all the numeracy coaches as well as
Mhm.
principals who were math instructors prior to going to administration for putting in their input and
Good.
selection. I have to share that.
Okay.
We looked from a broader scope,
Yeah.
and we took teachers who were recommended from others
Right.
who I would say that have good reputations.
Okay.
All right. And I want to add one thing, she was speaking about tactile and learning. Mr. Campbell brought the opportunity to Whale Branch L for a software called Pika, that takes reading into virtual reality. And we're working with a engineering group and the funder, and the funder's already given us 30 free units of virtual reality stories for children. And it was pretty neat to watch. Yes, that's what I'm saying, because my brain was thinking of it in a whole other, and so that it'll be targeted at Whale Branch L. We're setting up the PDs, it'll be learning stations, so that we have a front load lesson, then you'll go into the text of the story, and then have, an after lesson as well, right? So we're just starting on that. Hopefully the PD will happen in about a week. We're working with a woman by the name of Jackie Brown, who has a fund who's been able, they're rather generous, and Mr. Kim, I have to say thank you for that.
Excellent, be interested to see that,
Yeah.
maybe a site visit.
Yeah.
I sat and watched people put it on.
Yeah, I just got them running through, swimming.
Yes, cool.
Yeah.
It was cool. So
Anything to get them reading,
Oh.
That's the whole concept.
you know?
Yeah, that is actually the underlying concept. They're working with the University of Iowa, and actually they're at the point now of probably putting together a white paper. So in our MOU, it is that we could utilize data in the sense of this group of kids, what was the change?
Right, and then see whether it generalizes over into just wanting to read
Yes.
and seeking out the opportunities to read.
So the idea is that it helps a child develop the story. So a lot of reluctant readers is that they don't hear the author's voice. They can't make the movie in your head.
Yeah,
I'd say the whole idea is making the movie in the head, but utilizing virtual reality. And it's tied to a cell phone. So here you have the glasses and it's a cell phone. Yeah, yes.
interesting,
Yeah.
interesting.
That slips into the glasses and the app, you pull the app up and that has the story.
Yeah.
It's so simple.
I think that sometimes the, understanding the importance of an experienced reader reading aloud is not understood as much. It is so important. Yeah. I'm sorry, did I interrupt you? I didn't mean to.
Sorry, would you please spell it? Pika?
Pika, P-E-E-K.
Would that be something that teachers could provide a link for? Or is that?
I'm sure do I know the year, not the couple of years, when I'm here. The person is that's part of this action, we have to say away from us. The person who did vote has her own different entities, so we don't know who this individual is, and I want it. We'd like to know. That's part of the relationship.
Just as piggyback on that, virtual reality lessons are available online for a variety of sources that involve, Google has the cardboard boxes that are cell phone driven, the cost is the cell phone. They have the sets that are cardboard. You put a cell phone in, and there's a wide variety of virtual reality lessons for all of the disciplines available online for free, basically. You need the cell phone and the viewer.
And Google has a lesson,
Google has cardboard that are relatively
so
cardboard.
you just gave me an
Yes.
idea.
Yeah.
Nancy, so we could
That
actually
would be
utilize.
for biology, especially like,
You just gave me an idea. Because now the teachers at the school who are receiving the boxes with the cell phones could probably pull up lessons
Yes.
and
I
go beyond just a reading part.
was at a professional development done by the Greenwood Genetics Center, and
Thank
part
you.
of their professional development, they had the sets, and we visited it was a lesson on water quality, and we visited a wastewater treatment plant virtually.
That's cool.
And they showed all kinds of lessons that you could access, and anatomy and physiology, you can do three-dimensional virtual learning of the structures.
Back to education 10 years from now.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to come audit your class,
Well,
if I can see that.
I don't have the phones, and
yeah.
so I mean, telling kids to do it with their cell phones, and
Yeah.
I have one of the cardboard boxes, but I mean that's the expensive part is the phone that goes into the viewer.
and making
It's the
sure all the
phones.
phones are updated
Yeah.
to a level
Yeah.
that can
Because
use
they're all
the
iPads
technology.
that we receive.
Right, and
Right.
then kids would say, I don't have data, and
Yeah.
they can't connect their phone to our wireless, and so
Right.
I mean, there's
Okay. Yeah, some obstacles.
there's implementation.
But, and
But
I mean,
there are
that's,
content,
this is
Partnerships.
partnerships, yeah. That's exciting.
We've come
Can't
a long
be.
way from taking those, what's that, PVC pipe?
Oh my
and
gosh,
making,
and listen to your
and
own.
making, yeah.
Yeah.
I spent a lot
yourself
of money,
read.
I just went and bought all those things, PVP pipe, how did,
iPhones have an app that turns your cell phone into a microscope, and
yeah.
Yeah.
The mighty mitochondria. If I see one more diet, you understand where I'm going, right? All right, it's a plant cell or an animal cell.
Who would have thought textbook adoption conversation could have gotten so
Yeah.
exciting?
Well,
I mean, seriously, this is exciting to know.
I thought it was important that you would hear where we're going,
Yeah,
because it's not just what it used to be, although we,
No.
you know, we still read books and they're important, right? I just shared what Linda B. Johnson with Melissa's husband, sent the book for him to read.
yeah.
But
Well, it's still that basic precept that you have to read to learn.
yes.
I mean, that is, I know visual is playing a much larger role in learning, you know, but you still learn to read and then read to learn,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and that's what, where they say fourth grade on, you
Yeah.
learn, you read to
Just
learn.
read to
So you
learn.
gotta read, you gotta know how to read. So, yeah. All right, Dr. Stratos.
This is a collective effort.
Oh, just know the presenting of it, so
Okay.
that to set the
This is-
stage.
So there are two calendars that you should have,
Uh-huh.
okay? If you take a very close look at, I want you to find the calendar that has this month of August, that identifies students return to school on August 17th.
That's like the state guidelines. The state guidelines.
Okay?
Okay, so that is not the first one here that I see. Backwards.
It's the whole second packet.
This, perfect. I
I'm
like
just
this
gonna-
one better.
Well, let me give you the why first. In order to go with what you prefer, Jody, to go with that, we need to make sure that our strategic plan is completed, approved, and then we have the right to go ahead and then write a waiver to address innovative instruction. The waiver cannot be written just for a calendar. The state does not accept that, that's a no-no. They will accept for innovative instruction. So our approach to our waiver is proficiency learning based on using SC virtual franchise as a means to give children the opportunity to learn beyond traditional means. And then we're asking for a waiver so that we can have equal amount of time in both semesters. Right, that's the only, not that you need to, but to give children the equal amount of time should a child require it. So to get to that point, we have to get through a strategic plan first. Very important, because they will not accept without an updated, approved, board-approved and state-approved strategic plan. So that's where we're at in the process of growing as a district. The second part to that is if the state right now does sign a bill, and I believe it's Bill 4.19, that is addressing a potential earlier start date, all this is a moot point.
Right.
Except for that really the idea behind it is a good idea.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes,
so
and yes,
it's not-
but, right,
right.
but going ahead with having to write a waiver would be a moot point. We would still have in our strategic plan a proficiency waiver, either way I'm putting that waiver in, so that we can go ahead utilizing Edgenuity for proficiency, SC virtual classes for proficiency. So that's still tied to our strategic plan. That waiver always has been part of our strategic plan. Okay? But if 419 passes, then we don't have to do the second waiver for innovative instruction. Okay? So that's why the two choices. Okay? If 419 passes, woo-hoo, I don't have to do another paper. That sounds like a kid.
No, it's true.
So can you explain to a non-educator what a proficiency waiver,
So
what's that
proficiency,
exactly
so
mean?
I'll give you an example. So there was this kid named Mary, who went to high school, and the teachers preferred that she wasn't there. So Mary actually, with government class, econ class, that's all I needed for my senior year. And it got to the point in the state of New York at that time, had a proficiency clause. So I would just go take my exam. I went to cosmetology school. I passed my exams, it was very easy. No district, it was easy. Econ and government, I mean, how difficult was that as a course? They weren't, read the book, you're gonna pass the exam. You know, and I was able to go, you know, go to cosmetology school and get licensing, right, my senior year. And I worked that out with my principal. So the principal was out of the box, in the dark ages, and was out of the box and took the pen. Let's do this for this kid.
By passing the test, it showed
By
you're
passing the
proficient
test.
in
You
the
don't worry about
subject.
seat time.
No
Right,
seat
no
time.
seat time,
The
yeah.
Carnegie unit is not a point, because, right?
Mhm.
What is that the child has demonstrated proficiency as long as the administrator of that school has vetted to confirm that the required standards are being measured, right? And that's a key component in that conversation, right? Our district utilizes Edgenuity, my understanding that our standards are bled into Edgenuity, right? That's how these kids are able to do some work on Edgenuity, but we still tie them to seat time.
Yeah.
We always still assign our kids to seat time.
Thank you.
Right? So, last time we met, I asked you for sticky notes, right? I asked you if everyone had homework. Yes, that's what all, yes, okay. So you can see per month, you're gonna see your sticky note, your adage, your information tied to the far side of the sheet that you have in front of you, okay? So we look at, starting on August 17th, and we look to the very far right, it says, do what is best for kids, recommendation, change school start time, half-day time a month for a teacher, PD, or planning, teacher work days at the end of the quarters, semesters, no school on Veterans Day. So this was information that basically, the key points that came, because it was repetitive, but it was a good so what it meant to me is like, we have the same voice, so that makes sense, right? So semester break at Christmas, no weather makeup in months with only one day, no students, build weather makeup days into both semesters. So what I wanted us to be able to do is take a look at, let's say August, we started the 17th, there's 11 instructional days. We do know that there are 85 days in the first semester with us starting on the 17th. If you take a look to the next month, September, I've already identified, let's say for high school purposes, September 14th would be the interim progress reports that are required from our AR. If you look at September, we have Labor Day would be a day off. The 11th would be the elementary and middle school's interim progress report. The month of September actually requires 2 progress reports coming forward. Identify the Jewish holidays. And it's really all that I was able to put in for 2 months. And you said, I'm still running our sticky note information on the far side, okay? When you take a look to October, this is where we start getting a little creative, ladies and gentlemen. Because now we look at October, we're coming through, we get to just about October 14th, 15th, and 16th, right? The week of, we need to start looking at, Ellen had chopped off on my copies, I do apologize that, okay? That we would have the end of a first quarter, we would have a half day to give teachers time to work. And the green day would be the start of the second quarter. So if these are things we could live with, I'll just keep going. Are we okay so far? Because November's where it's gonna get sticky.
What is the pink, I'm sorry?
The
rose
pink
color?
is the last day of the
Last
monthly
day.
period.
Okay.
Now, one of the things I do want us to recognize, and I will ask that we take a better look at our AR, is that we do a better job of unifying when grades are completed at the school site and when report cards go to print. So that every parent in the county should get the report card at the same time. All schools should be doing that at the same time with one district. So, and that was something when I sat with a team of people sharing information, it's like, no, there's some schools that print, and I'm like, no, we should be printing all at the same time. It's only fair that if all our kids in school, my parents should all get report cards at the same time, if that makes sense. Right? So I'd like us later on to have that type of conversation. So November is where it gets a little murky.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. In
Yes, ma'am.
October, should there not be parent-teacher conferences somewhere around
That would
the
lend for the,
16th?
yes, that would lend for the opportunity on the 16th on that half day, Nancy, 100% yes.
But
Yes.
by
But
then,
then it's
the
not
quarter's
really-
already ended.
A work day for teachers if it's also conference day.
So we can go back and add that in. So your recommendation is you want to have a work day on the 16th or
Well,
on the 14th?
I mean, I thought that's what you had
Well,
said,
that's
that
what
was to
I'm-
finalize
right,
grades.
right.
But traditionally, that half day would be for parent-teacher conferences.
Yes. So should we have a work day on the 14th and we're starting the quarter on the 15th? Or try to move that all to the 16th? Because grades would not be finalized, right, to the following week
But
to go to print
I would
on
think
that quarter.
the best use of parent-teacher conferences would be on the 23rd for the half day after the parents have gotten the report card and they're more motivated to come in and say what in the
Or
world is
give them
going
out,
on.
give them out at those. That's what I would do at my open house, was youth report card day. Even at high school, I was one of those. So your recommendation is the 23rd for a half day?
Well, I would recommend it that it would be, for the best use, it would be after when report cards went out, which day it is, I
We're trying to accomplish more parents coming into the conference.
mean. More informed, having already gotten the information. I mean, theoretically, they can all log into PowerSchool at any time.
See, that was a
Any moment.
conversation that came up with a group of people in
That's
the
what's
room.
happening.
And that some schools already start doing them at night anyway,
Right.
right? So,
Well, it would
because
be-
I was where you're at, that it's nice to give it after the fact, and I got buckshot.
Well,
But that's,
See, as a parent, I'd rather have it before because I want to know if my kids aren't meeting expectations before the grades, before the quarter ends, the
That
grades come out, you know what I'm
has to
saying?
have happened at progress reports, because
Yeah,
even on the
right.
16th, that is too late
it's
to
gonna
do
be too
anything about
late.
quarter
Right.
one.
Yeah,
But you're
that's-
also, the
that's-
teacher is supposed to contact you if the student falls below 70.
Yeah.
and that
Then
is
you
part
have
of the
had the
AR.
progress reports as well,
Yeah.
so I mean, there's
Good. They're supposed to be contacting you prior to,
Some of,
Right.
so for me, my threshold is not 70. So when I get on my kid, if it's not 70, but understood. I know some people that would be the normal.
so, what I'm trying to get feedback is, I'm in the mindset as Nancy is, that after the report card, so that you have the information in your hand, it acts as a motivator. It does lay off a lot of issues, calling guidance counselors, because now you already know you have parent conference set up, right? That's how I looked at it as post-report card. Any other, Mel?
I'm just trying to get a picture of what you're really saying in terms
So-
of the parent, student, teacher, guidance, interchange. Alright, term ends. I'm the student, I made a D.
Right.
Alright, well, how does it work in terms of getting my mom engaged with the teacher and the guidance counselor, and what kind of time, what are you talking about time-wise?
Well, often on the report card, a comment is made, conference requested. And if that comment comes out on paper after the conferences, that's awkward, that you've
Oh,
already
yeah,
had
I
your.
agree with
your
that
time.
part.
Right.
When does the teacher?
you want another one?
When
Yeah.
when is the report card in front of the parent?
So if we
On
work
the
on the.
computer? or they're passed out? I think you're saying they're passed out when?
On the 21st,
Okay,
and the
And-
23rd would be a half day, lending for parent-teacher conferences.
it's a Friday.
Yes.
All right, that's not a good day, I'll tell you that right now. It's not a good day because it's not good for the working parent.
Oh, you mean a Friday?
They ain't taking off that Friday. That's payday.
Most schools do evening meetings on the 15th, or
Yeah.
the day before.
The night before.
They do from
And
5
then
until
the
7 on the
next
Thursday.
half a day afterwards, and nobody shows up that next half a day. You know, for the most part.
Well, maybe
You know,
not
their
high school.
parents, not at Hilton Head High School, more
Right.
people probably show up at Hilton Head High School than anywhere else. Because those parents can afford to not work, and they've got a different level of students there. But now you go to
Just
north of the Broad, they're not,
I apologize.
they're not gonna show up on that Friday half a day, they're not. Maybe that Thursday night, that Thursday evening,
And
yes.
Thursday night is pretty full, and then,
Yeah.
and then Friday.
It's tough to do that.
Well, I mean, I was at middle school, and parent, those spots were pretty filled up.
Well, I didn't have that experience. I was at the high school and I always had less.
Yeah.
High school parents are less likely to go to a conference, I think.
Well, that's what it is, that's what it was, I was missing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The parents of the
I
higher
expected them
performance
to
students
show
will
up
be very
like
much
everybody
involved.
else.
they'll go,
Yes, be very much involved.
and they don't, yeah,
And the parents who are vetting for my child to be at a Sal Val,
yeah.
they'll be very much involved. Your top 10%, your top 15%, you'll see them at the schools,
See,
but
I
then
don't see that.
it starts in that.
And then I don't see parents that you really wanna see there.
Right, those are the
Yeah,
ones
and
that.
Those are the
are
ones you're
student.
not gonna see
Right,
there, and
that's
a number
true.
of
No
reasons
matter-
why. I mean, not because they don't wanna
Right.
do something, but it's Friday, and I wanna get paid, and if I miss a Friday, another Friday, I may not have my job. All of those are the parts of the components that, you know, that's a work population, especially the lower level work population. Their responsibility is more like, I can do school, but it better be convenient for me.
The other use of time for the half day is to call parents, where you don't have someone in the room with you, you can phone them and you don't have
And
to
that's
worry
good,
about that.
set up some future.
Or even
conferences.
just do what
Phone
you can over the
conferences.
phone.
Yeah.
Because
that's
sometimes
about it,
parents have a really hard time managing childcare and work,
Yes.
just like you talk about,
Yes.
but having a block of time where you can
So, yeah.
work through the phone and maybe
so-
get some calls back is useful.
So
And I think-
that's as opposed to what was your suggestion before?
The week before, on
The
the 14th.
week prior.
On the
Parent
16th,
conferences the week before the,
before the
before God?
report card
And
day.
after the end of the marking period, but before the report cards are issued.
Now, the flip side of that, what it lends is, Mr. Campbell, we've been working with Mary, do you think maybe we can get her to get some stuff, and we're not going to print yet? But it's still, there's an opportunity for her grade before we go to print. And that's the only flip side of that, but doesn't mean that a grade change can't happen, that's a discretion of the teacher. But I
Yeah,
just want
but
us to be,
certain
once we
amount
go
of
to
days
print,
afterwards.
we go to
But it's
print.
hard. I mean, it's,
Well, but on the 16th too, realistically, historical grades will be stored and there's still a very small window for
But
Mary to
there
do
it is,
anything.
it is a small window, but, and the schools, due to printing up their report cards themselves, we don't do a master print job. Right, they're actually printed the afternoon, they're supposed to be printed, let's say on a Tuesday for distribution. And I'm not sure how every school is distributing, if they're doing it through the first block or last block of the day. Depending me, I would do it at the end of the day if my kids aren't on early release, because if you're not happy, at least I give you a report card, you're going home.
Yeah.
For those of you who are unhappy, I have a whole day of upset kids.
what do you mean grades are stored?
Well,
Amen.
so on the 20th, you couldn't do anything for the student after the morning of the 20th because
Right.
the
Once
data
you go to print.
specialist hits store historical grades, and after that happens, you have to do a grade change form,
No,
right?
you have to do grade change
Yes.
form, but you can do something, so.
Yes.
That would be, there would be
Then-
one day
yes.
that would you get out of that.
But you also have to have the student do the work has to be graded, and then, so if
It's
you
a
had.
burden that you don't really
Well,
wanna
I mean,
invite.
just making sure you would have time to even grade it. I
Yeah,
mean,
you don't
Depending
wanna
on what it
invite,
was and.
And
like
how
you
many
said,
students?
It
Would
wouldn't
they
be
realistically
everybody.
be able to complete
no,
it?
it'd just be
Right,
that
it'd be that
person
one
that
kid
wanna
that's
do.
But
right
if you
there.
can't do it
Better.
for everyone,
Yeah,
Is
Yeah.
it equitable to?
Yeah, it's
So-
still gonna be available, but only one person can take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Mm.
So for the month of October, we're looking at potentially the end of the marking period on the 14th. Looking at the 14th as a PD day for teachers, I'm just sharing. The 15th would be the start of the next marking period. Report card distribution on the 21st. Lending for night parent meetings on the 22nd. Half day on the 23rd. Alright, which also then lends that PD day to be a potential makeup weather day. Right, one of the three we required before we could waive one.
So the 14th is a day off
It's
for
potentially,
students?
yes, it would be no student contact.
People are gonna like that.
In the middle of the
Like a
week.
day off in the middle of the week and then the next week a
Okay.
half day. I mean, and it's my belief, the calendar is the calendar. The school board, you know, the district presents a calendar, the school board votes on a calendar, that's the calendar.
Don't change it.
You know, parents won't like it because it'll impact work and things like that, but if it's what's best for students, then that's, to me, that's the ultimate goal.
But
You can't run your school district worrying about who's gonna be upset about if they have to take a day off of work or.
You just want the overall best results.
Right. I mean, you don't wanna create problems unnecessarily, but at the
Right.
same time, but
Mhm.
people won't like that split. Like, it's better to have, you know, a day off than a half day or something like that, but it just
we're
doesn't
held
make
by
sense in
law
this
for 5
case.
PD days during the academic calendar, right? So if you back the door up, then we're closing the quarter a little earlier, and already we're doing it a little earlier, or if you move the PD to the 16th.
Mm-hmm.
So we will shift then, at the start of the next quarter would be on the 45th day, which leaves only 20, how many days would that leave for that rest of the quarter? 40
Mhm.
days. So you're gonna have your second quarter 5 days less.
Right.
You're gonna catch 22.
Right.
Because I would like the Friday off. Everyone wants a Friday off, raise your hand. But then we're shifting, right?
I think
It's not fair, the amount of seat
And that's
time
the
for
kind of
marking
thing when you
period.
explain to people, you
I
say,
understand.
well, like, you know,
Yes.
yeah, I know it's terrible to have your kids off in the middle of the week and you don't normally have childcare and now you have to arrange for that and, you know, your transportation is all, but the difference is if they didn't do it that way, then, you know, your kid
Yeah.
would have 5 days less and,
5 days in that next quarter.
right.
I also have felt that PD in the middle of the week is more effective than PD on a Friday for staff. You know,
I agree with you.
I think at
over
the
my
end of the
years-
week, the staff is like, "Oh, we're done, this is a nice day off, but they don't engage
Can we go
as
for
much.
lunch?
Yeah, yeah.
Was there any discussion about
And
making the
I'm
PD
not
day
gonna come in.
on, well,
Yeah, that's right.
people mistake it that we're having it off for Columbus Day, but making the PD day Columbus Day?
I'm seeing that too.
Right, that's actually where I was back in the, and still it's ending.
And then the quarter on the 41st day.
But then your 41st day, so your first quarter is only gonna be short 2 days. So what you're saying is have the PD before the end of the quarter.
Have it the day before.
Is that helpful
And
to
I
teachers to
have a
get
hard
caught
time
up
with
or
that.
does it make it harder to get caught up?
I guess it would be, the benefit that you could see from that would be that if a student did notice when grades were put in that things were missing and did turn them in on the Tuesday when they get back, you would have had the PD day to make sure you're all up to date and then they could turn
You'd
something in.
still have teachers by nature, you would be doing the right thing, Nancy, but we would still have a lot of teachers district-wide doing it on the 39th day, just by nature of practice. How can we ensure the change of that behavior? So now, and then you still have an instructional day where kids, are we having a party since grades are all done?
Yeah.
It's a mindset shift. Well, why am I working today when my grades are already done? It doesn't count today. It doesn't end, the quarter doesn't end until
They should do
tomorrow.
what I do and lie and say, yeah, I already got my grades.
Good for you.
I can deal with the lie.
I could too.
I don't have my grades in. Most of the time, it's not a lie, it's the truth.
I don't know what calendar you
could
saw. So you're trying to institute that there will be a teacher workday at the end of the quarter. That's your philosophical approach to.
Well, if we could do it, it would be not, we have to put in the days for PD and for weather makeup days, right? All things aligned in a perfect world.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice to give a teacher that if we could, if. Because I do know, here's the flip side of that. You're all done, the marking period's done, your grades are done, I confirm your grades are done. However that principal handles it, hopefully they confirm, you turn your grades in, there's a hard copy, someone signs off. Have a beautiful day. Please do your planning in an alternate setting. There's not much we can give our educators, I don't mean it. But you know, they came in at 7 o'clock on that day and they're working through lunch. At least give a little bit of an opportunity so they can, or if they wanna do collegial planning on that day. There's not much to just close and start something new the next day.
I definitely agree with Cassie about, I like the workday on the Wednesday, but trying to think of it from everyone's perspective
right.
and see of what do people think about the Monday.
And again, we still have to go through accounting to ensure that we're meeting enough days, because the conundrum is November.
Mm.
Okay.
I'm being very honest, November is the conundrum. Because November, well, what happens is, we have an election year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure question.
I hadn't heard about it.
We're all gonna run. So, the schools are closed. Really?
We're supposed to be closed on the presidential election day, which we should be closed on the third.
I didn't
Oh,
say.
wow, I didn't know that.
Thank you
We're
for letting.
supposed-
I'm clueless, I just go to work.
History.
History, thank you for the institute. So if you know, and I have a strong belief of being off on Veterans Day as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the,
So November, so see what happens to Thanksgiving, I want us to be recognizing that.
Yeah.
3 days?
I think that's
I
fine.
think that's fine.
That's
Okay.
what we've always had. I've never had a whole week at things.
And, you know.
It's really 5 if you count the weekend.
Right.
It's
Right.
enough time to go.
It is enough time to
Yeah.
still do.
5
But
hours
I just
away, you
want-
know, if you had to do
Okay.
that, or
Yeah,
if further to fly if you had to.
Okay.
Would that 25th be a weather makeup day?
The answer to that would be yes.
Yes.
Yeah, would have to be.
Would have to be.
Right. So that gives us 2 weather makeup days so
Yes.
far?
Yes.
Ooh. Historically, that's not been enough, has it, the past 4 years?
I've noticed.
Well, but the one year when we had the snow, that was on the end of that was a January storm, and so we had the weather makeup at the end of the year. It wasn't
Yes.
for the hurricane makeup.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
So are we good in the sense of the days off for November?
I think that's a beautiful
Yeah.
Yes,
thing.
nothing,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
Okay.
so.
Especially with election day in there, it's.
So now this is where I have to now get a date back.
Mm.
Yes, when we look at Christmas. The only reason I'm saying that is because I took a day in October to put in the PD date and our
Yeah.
marking period. I need a date back. And that would, so I need some feedback with regard to the 21st,
And I wanted to get back the
Yeah.
21st.
okay?
Yeah.
Then everybody's going to school for one day.
One day.
Can we squeeze 2 early?
Just do 2 and then do 2 weather make. I mean, I don't know.
I'm with you.
Yeah, well, 2 early.
Because
I'm
if
with
a kid's
her.
smart at a high school
They ain't
level,
gonna
they're
show
gonna
up.
save those days to be off, if that
Right.
makes any
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, they ain't gonna come, just, but you get them 2 days.
Enough notice. people
Enough
will adjust.
notice, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that was,
2 days.
Yes.
I would. Yeah.
I feel like it's mindset, you know, like
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
it's
think
not-
it is. I think
okay,
you're right.
so we
Yeah.
will have school, which now takes me to, let me just count my days and I do apologize. I would be, this would be 84, I'm at 85 days. Okay.
Yeah.
We're caught up.
Yeah, I think Jody's right, it's a mindset.
days.
It's
It is
like
a
we
mindset.
have to work in the calendar
Yes.
for what's best for
And
instruction.
and it's giving, so let me ask a question, and Nancy, I'm gonna point this towards you. I come from a history, even when I was in New York, that semester exams, high school, had a half a day. So for the semester, and it's hard to do that here because, but the semester exam, it would be a half day where you would go to school just for your exams and go home.
Our
Has that-
students would love it. We don't do that, but
Right.
students would love it.
Because my teachers, no, it's a full day here.
The trade-off from a teacher's perspective that I would not appreciate is that we use the last period of that day as a review for the next day.
Okay.
And so the
Yeah.
way that we've been running it at Beaufort High, which I think is kind of given all the constraints of things, an effective way to do it is we have a rolling schedule, where the first
So
day we
you're-
start 1, 2, 3,
yes,
4.
yes.
Then we start, but then it gets kind of
Okay.
complicated because then we start 2,
Yeah.
usually takes all morning,
Yeah.
something, and then 3. Or actually the first day, it's 1, 2, or 1 something, something 2. You end
Right.
on the class that you are going to test
Take the
next
exam on
day.
the next day, yes.
And so by
But that
giving
has
it
been
half
working
day,
out well.
I like it.
Okay.
Students all complain. I'd like to be able to go home after my tests, and they like to do that for AP exams as well. They think that once they've taken
Yes.
an AP exam, they're done.
That they're done.
Well, I tell them that's not how the world works, and they
No.
need to.
Well, I'm gonna get
To
my mom
adjust
to
their
sign me
mindset.
out. Okay, you can get your mom, go to the bathroom, you can text.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yes.
But that would be, from a teacher's perspective, that's the thing that I would see I'd be losing, is that I wouldn't get that review that we
I wanted your feedback before conversation because I wanted to know what the climate here, if you're going to that is, so.
Well, the students really benefit from that as well, even though they may not recognize
Right,
it,
right.
they certainly benefit from it, right?
Right.
So going forward, looking at the 21st and 22nd will be instructional days.
Yep.
Okay, so let's keep driving our bus. We're in
It's
January.
now on video. That just occurred to me, like,
Yes.
it's not, I mean, it just,
Dr. Stratus, were
Yes,
you at
ma'am.
85 or 86 with the Monday and
I was
Tuesday?
at 85. I'm gonna go back and confirm again
Because
because,
of the PD day.
right, because I
Yeah.
lost a PD day.
Okay.
So technically, my 84 replicated over, so I was 84, 85.
Well, the only question that came to mind was, would it then be feasible to turn that half day for parent-teacher conferences into a whole day off for students? Instead of you talking about half days not being as for pickup
But
and
we
drop
just-
off
Yeah.
things.
I need to understand it.
Say it again,
If we
Nancy?
added in December, if we added the Monday and Tuesday as instructional days, the 21st and the 22nd, would it be possible now to turn that half day in October on the 23rd into a full day off for students?
And have a whole day for a teacher?
But I'm at 85 days, I'm gonna lose a day again.
Yeah, that would get us down to 84.
That's why I wondered,
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
added
yeah.
the 2 days in though, 'cause
No, I
thought
did
you only
because I
needed
took,
one.
because the 14th was counted originally as a day, that's why I had it in those,
Yeah, the 14th is,
Was
it's a
it the
PD
technic-
day, shouldn't be counted.
shouldn't be counted, I
Oh,
had it
you
as day
got
number
42
42.
there.
Oh.
Yeah, that, yeah.
You see,
Okay.
and that's why,
18 is 84, and 21 would be 85 then, right?
I'm trying
Or
to.
so you would say that's 83, because you had a number on the rose day, is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Yes.
Oh, I
yes,
understand
ma'am,
now.
yes, ma'am,
Okay,
okay?
yeah.
Okay.
And the 25th of November is now 70, right?
It's weather makeup day.
Yeah, I didn't realign everything, but the answer to that is yes. Yes.
I mean, it's a weather
Yeah.
makeup day, but
It's a weather makeup day, but it is a school day, weather makeup day,
No.
because I just went to the end to do my clothes.
No, it's not a
No.
school day, it's
It's
just
not,
a
it's just a
school
weather,
day.
it's just a weather
Just a
makeup
weather
day.
weather
That's all, I still have it in blue,
Got it, okay.
okay? So we're at 85 for a semester.
Really, day 69 now.
Now, January, you see I put in a teacher day, so you can finish your grades. And I believe we did that this year.
When we did surveys about calendars in the past, that is something that came up as something that was appreciated and was a positive.
Okay.
Oh, Mary, I'm sorry, I
Yes,
was
ma'am.
still
What's that?
doing my numbers, what did you just say? That-
No, that you were, on January 4th would be a teacher work day.
okay.
So we start our second semester, first day of second semester would be January 5th.
Mhm. that's how it's been. I
Yeah.
mean, right? Like
Yeah.
the last 2 or 3 years, I don't know, well, you guys may not know, but Dr. Wise, isn't that right? Like we did,
2 years ago, it turned into 2 more days after final exams that went into the first semester.
oh,
Were they weather makeup? Were they?
Yeah, I believe it was weather
Yeah,
makeup.
weather makeup days.
So I was trying to give as much as possible within, because the other part is kids have a tendency, I'm done, we're in a new year.
mhm.
Oh, we're still teaching. So, I have the 18th as a holiday, that should have been in blue, I do apologize.
Mhm.
You can see the progress reports continuing.
Mhm.
Now, this is where life gets tough, and I put on my teacher hat. I want you to start counting the weeks our teachers have to go.
Yeah.
I know.
See it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Right, yes, it's always so long.
Well, we
Yeah.
have something in March, but
February's a short
February's a
month.
short month.
February's a short month.
It's not a leap year this
Oh,
year.
they don't call it the Death March for nothing.
It's tough.
It
It's
is
a
hard.
tough one. And that's where I think we need to have talk with our
hard.
principals.
It's also flu season.
I mean, yes, and I think
So bad.
And that should be a month that when you have all this, you need to do something for your staff.
Oh, yeah, this is
Right.
exhausting.
Yeah, because start looking at it and go into March,
Mhm.
that's tough. And that's something that we could work with our principals about, to say, when you have consecutively 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks before a day off.
You should
Not
pull the
more.
teacher absenteeism for those 7 weeks.
Generally, I
You
did take a
should,
look
and
at
you're,
it.
oh,
I took a look,
Yeah.
informally, I've been monitoring, been working closely with Sally.
It's just-
and
it's survival.
tough.
Although stamina is built with the children,
Yes.
like we're on a roll, you know, you get in a
But the
groove.
correlation that happens during this time period is a spike in disciplinary referrals,
Yeah.
a spike in absenteeism. There's a relation, because of, and flu season, right?
Well, I mean, I can just say for like our family, you know, Gwen got the flu at the end of January. She was sick for a whole week, then I got it.
Yeah.
I was sick and then my daughter got it. So we had 3 solid weeks in the house where everything was all turned upside down. And then this last week we had like the Friday off and then the half day. It's like a weird schedule with
yeah,
the
yeah.
schedule.
14th and the 17th.
My kids haven't been for a full week of school
Right.
since we got back from break, I don't
Right.
think.
Yeah.
I mean,
And also I mean, I think by the end of the 7 weeks, no, I'm just not talking staff, the kids are exhausted. They're
Yeah.
climbing the walls. They just need a mental
The,
break.
the children, yeah. So we start counting from the first week of January, 1, 2, 3, 4. You look at the 29th of January, you have, that's 18th day interim progress reports for high school already due. I'm into February
We have 1 day off, we have 2 days off in January, the 4th and the 18th.
and the 18th.
Right,
Right.
right.
February is,
Straight
the
pay.
March of Taipei, it's straight. It goes all, so I think there was a recommendation looking at maybe a half day.
Yeah, I'd put a half day in February
Where
somewhere.
do you think would be a what do you think would be a recommendation? My gut is saying in between the progress reports, but
President's Day.
President's Day?
President's Day?
Actually, I think we were closed President's Day, right?
We were this year.
Right,
The district, the kids were out, but the district was open.
right, this
Right,
was
it was
open.
a PD day.
Yes.
So, would you like to look at, we can play with the PD day, realize it just extends the school year, I have to get a day back. But to me, I think we need to do something
Yeah.
in February, it's a lot, I'm being direct, it's,
So President's Day again, which is,
technically, it's gonna be 9 weeks, 10 weeks, if you look to Good Friday would add a day off, that's 50 days.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That is actually a marking, that's a whole marking, so look at Heather, she's like,
Yeah.
don't do that to me, I kill my kids.
do it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
February, which week is it?
I
The
left
third
my,
Monday?
can someone Google
I
it?
have no surface here.
Oh, I got it right here.
Thank you.
President-
Yes, tradition.
President's Day must be the 15th. Must be the 15th.
Okay, now I have to find
Does it go to
2021.
21?
2021 in
Yeah,
there?
that's the thing.
Oh, no!
It doesn't have 21?
Well, no, what's the math on this? If February 17th was President's Day this year, what is it?
Well,
It's the
traditionally,
15th,
it's the
February
15th.
15th, because it's
Yeah,
one, the third
traditionally,
Monday.
After,
Yeah, exactly.
the 12th and
Yep, I
14th.
found it, yeah, the 15th.
Are we good with
Yeah.
that as a group?
For a half day or a whole day?
I put in a whole day.
Yeah. Half day is not, won't do the trick.
It won't.
Yeah.
It does not relieve fatigue.
Yeah.
So is that for
Well, and I can
or
see,
is
the
that
parents were mad
PD
about
day
the
for
4-day
teachers?
weekend.
We haven't done, right now, we're
All
done.
This
students.
is last time, they were like, I
All
mean,
for
people were
students,
complaining,
PD
why
for
are they
teachers,
off?
right?
Just, you
It's a
know,
PD
just
day?
off.
No, this is all,
This is a school close.
school close day.
Oh,
We did not put it in as a PD day.
Yeah.
okay.
No student contact, give the teachers a day off, but which means we have to add a day at the
Right,
end of
so
the
let's see
year,
what that looks
Okay.
like, yeah.
okay?
Let's
So
start
right now,
with that.
I gotta give a little tab, I need 1 day. So now as we look into March, as Matt, we're driving the bus. Third quarter ends. I have to count my days again, I do apologize for that.
Be one off from what you're counting, right? I know.
Like that just,
I'm looking at the March 10th as the 45th day. Now, I had added 2 extra days because second semester was 90 days, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So we could go with March 10th as the close. Are we good with that?
Yeah.
So that would be when the grades are due?
Grades.
Or,
Could it be
or that would be the
closing?
end, and then the grades are due 2 days later.
Right.
And this would be the close. Third quarter.
Mm-hmm. 11th will be the beginning.
Now, here we go back to the conversation we had earlier of having a day off during the week,
I think you stay consistent,
okay?
right? I mean, if you're gonna set a philosophy of you're going to have,
Marking period ends, we want to give teachers a day to do their grades. Are we good with
So
that?
that's the 11th.
So we're looking at the 11th.
I'm sorry, I'm not following. For the 10th, it's 85-95, right?
Right.
And so,
Right.
Oh, it's
so we're talking
95.
about 47 being
Yeah.
half seats, not 45.
Right, that would have taken us to the Friday.
And so that even pushes it,
So we could have off on the Friday, Nancy,
right.
okay?
So
let's close-
Thursday, the
let's close
11th
it.
is the last day.
So we will close on the 11th, we'll close the third quarter. I should have brought a pencil.
That's the 46th day, right?
And teacher PD day,
it is, it's a
okay, will be on a Friday, on the 12th. Has it
Instead of a
smiling? I see a
instead of-
lip going up. Nancy's, yep, lips going up. Anyone else? Come on.
And that's
Parents
the
would rather have the
day.
days off on a Friday or a Monday.
And you can plan a long weekend.
Right.
Right.
We have
Okay.
a lot of Disney vacations.
Yes. And it's
Indeed.
and by the way, it's discounted in March, okay?
Mhm.
So the green means it is the start of a marking period. Yay, 4th marking period. So I now need 2 days.
So that PD day that you had on the 19th,
That goes to the 12th?
that goes to the 12th? So you've got a day right
Give me a
there.
month, I do it.
March.
No, right there, it's just not colored. It says PD day and there's no.
Right,
there's no-
that's gonna be crossed out.
Okay.
That's gonna be crossed out.
But it is holding, it's a placeholder for day 53.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I only need one and I
You
can
only need
continue
one.
counting. Yes, ma'am. Okay?
Do you, but it's not day 53
It's
because we
52.
changed the
It's a
day.
52.
Right,
It's 52.
right, what I'm
Okay.
saying is that she can't, even though,
Right.
Do you
So
want
it
a
goes
pencil
back now
instead?
to 53.
I'm okay, I'm okay.
It really is 53 now, but it really is still not 53, it's actually 52.
It's actually 52.
Yeah.
Yes, it's 52.
I gave Good Friday
Not a
off.
PD, yeah.
I was trying to get more days, wasn't happening. Actually, I learned something, by the way, I want to share with all of you. I didn't know that we were tied very close to, I mean,
Heritage.
Heritage Golf.
Yeah.
Because originally I had that week off.
Yeah.
I said, that was a perfect match. Passover, Good Friday, Easter.
Everybody north of the Broad would be happy with that. But to have the week,
Yeah.
Good Friday and the following week
But to do
to do Heritage.
education purposes to get the right understanding traffic is impossible, so.
Oh,
That's
it's
what I
pretty
could-
bad.
Well,
On the island, in
On the
Bluffton it's
island,
fine.
yeah, anything, well, actually even north, the north part of the island isn't, but do you have bad traffic?
What?
It's down
Not
Sea
really.
Pines, it's
During Heritage.
horrible.
Well, no,
Oh.
because they make
What's-
everybody park at
They-
Honeycorn
at
now and
Honeycorn,
they
They
go
park,
down.
they park on the north end.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, see, actually, what the problem is with that, is that a lot of teachers and a lot of teachers and
They
community
work.
people take off and they work the heritage. So a lot of
Yeah.
the heritage staff comes from staff, so therefore
Yeah, that's the
from
bottom
school.
line.
That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
bottom.
that's the bottom line of it.
That's what I was
Yeah,
told.
yeah, that's the
Mrs.
truth of it.
Smith, that's exactly what I was
But
told.
busing too would be like,
Is that
really.
they have found traditionally there's been almost no staff working,
Exactly, because they will take
Right.
off and they will go work at the
We're
heritage
gonna
and
try
get
to
that
get to
money.
the next calendar too.
Yeah.
or we could just mimic, once we agree on this type of model, I could mimic it.
Let me, can I ask a question about
Yes.
Good Friday? In the north, I've always had it off. When I taught in Charlotte Mecklenburg schools, we never had it off.
It's always
Never
been,
had-
we've always had it off here.
You always have, okay,
We used to also have Good Monday,
Good
but
Monday.
they took Monday away.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Because that was
Or,
something
I
that,
mean, Easter
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
Good
Easter
Friday,
Monday.
and we
Easter
had,
Monday.
and we had Easter
yeah,
Monday.
and that's
but
what,
that's
in
a lifetime
Charlotte, we had
thing. I
Easter
haven't
Monday
seen
off
that.
and have Good Friday.
Another,
Yeah.
just bringing it back up, we haven't always tied our spring break to the heritage. We have always had Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off, but there
Right.
were times when we had spring break and the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for
Right.
heritage.
But that was a long time ago.
And so I don't know if the
don't
need,
remember
the
that.
desire to end school before June overrid the desire to,
Well, right now,
Break
the way
those two
this
apart.
is
know.
designed,
Because Heritage is only
Right.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
Well, that's, yeah.
No,
that's
no,
the
no,
whole
no,
thing.
no, actually, it's-
Okay, wait, we need one at a time.
Actually, the heritage is Monday through the Sunday. I mean, it's Monday through Sunday. But the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are the heavy days where everyone actually start to go out there and people actually start to really actually work. It's in full swing on that Wednesday.
They do like a
So Wednesday,
pro-am
Yeah.
in the beginning, in the first 2
Wednesday,
days.
Thursday, Friday,
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday.
I've been here 11 years and I've experienced that, where we had a spring break and the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And there was also that weird time when there were two different calendars.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's,
I like that.
that's.
We had
the-
Well,
after we did
That was
the,
interesting.
I love
We
that.
actually
Around-
had four
Had
calendars.
one
One calendar?
We had
Oh,
one
we had
calendar.
spring break this time, South Bay Broad had it that time, but it was,
one school district.
yes,
Mhm.
we had 4 calendars.
we had four.
Does accommodate the heritage.
With one school district.
How did we get the week after Easter off this year?
That's Heritage.
It just lined up.
It just lined up.
Yeah.
It lined up, and I was told it alternates every few years.
Oh.
Yeah, Mr. Fallon's shop was giving me the history, that it
Okay.
actually alternates,
I
it
never noticed.
lines up that way, which was interesting. So, looking at March, are we good with Good Friday off?
Yes.
What
Look-
about,
Go ahead.
splitting it? Do you think there'd be much pushback if we had Easter Monday and Easter Tuesday off, and then,
It's just so weird though to go like Wednesday,
Yeah.
Thursday,
Yeah.
like to go Monday,
and then just
Tuesday.
go Monday, Tuesday?
Yeah, and then
you're
we
right.
do
Teaching wise, it would be
Yeah.
real.
And then you
hard.
have 3 weeks of like goofy childcare stuff going on
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
people
Okay.
instead of.
Well, the other option would be to have spring break at the end of February and then have the 2 days off for heritage in April.
Right.
But as a teacher, how would you feel? Would that be more a break for you?
Then you're pushing the school year more into June, aren't you?
Well, you wouldn't need that day off for President's Day. And so you would really be
You still
needing
need 4 more days.
4 days. But I don't really understand why it needs to end before the beginning of June, so I don't know how to respond to that. There are people who really want it to, and they say it has to do with summer camps and things, but, so I don't know. I don't know, I can't give you the heartbeat of that one, because I don't
We've
know.
gone into June before, several times.
I don't know why it matters if
Well,
it
we
goes
had
into
to
June or
for
not.
weather makeup, really,
Right
right?
now, we're gonna be going in to June, two days tentatively. So we're looking June first and second, and then if you need any weather days, you'll need a third and fourth.
What about the idea of more of a winter break though? A winter spring break? Like Nancy just suggested, well, threw out there, not suggested, but.
All I can offer is what I would like, and I can't tell you if it would be supported or not, I don't know. But
Well, there are other people at the table. What is your input?
I think it would be a nice opportunity as a parent, and even if one of those days was a few, I don't know, maybe that's a crazy idea, but like, I kind of like that. There are some colleges that break in February.
There are some districts that actually give a winter break again, and then do spring break, and they go
They go
through
to
school.
the end of June.
Right.
They go to
Right,
school.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, they go to
Anymore.
school a lot later in the year.
We should do that too.
So I plan vacations, that's what I do, and I use predominantly Disney vacations. So around here, we get a lot of people with these long weekends, they will plan to go away for a short trip. But it also makes it very difficult for families who want to plan like an actual trip. I mean, like if you have all of these little mini breaks, then it makes it a lot harder to plan for that long break for spring. You know, because it would be like a 4-day weekend and then like a 4-day weekend instead of just one long.
Well, not everyone can afford 2 holidays.
Well, right. I mean,
I'll
but
put it
like,
directly.
yeah,
Not
but
everyone can-
people
right.
I mean, a lot of people can't afford any, right? And so then that raises the childcare issue again, where we've got these little chunks peppered throughout the year, where people who have younger kids, or even like middle schoolers and high schoolers, they don't really want to leave their kids alone while they're working. It's just, I think it makes it harder to have a lot of smaller breaks.
Well, also, I do hear what she's saying too, but also, we can't burn teachers out either. I mean, at some point in time, they need the breaks too.
Right.
So, I mean, so,
That's what Nancy-
so,
You know, yeah.
I mean, so we kind of have to got to give and take, so,
Well, you know, do you remember, Mr. Smith, do you remember when we said year-round school?
right.
And instructionally, it was a beautiful thing, even though not every school was on the same schedule, so that made it very difficult if you had kids in one school. Anyway, but you know, the chance to do your lesson plans, to plan your remediation, to plan, you know, before you're all the way almost to testing time.
How would it affect the dual enrollment, the high schoolers that are?
They would still have to go to school classes. They would still be required to attend the dual enrollment classes because they're subject to the attendance policy of the college.
Right.
Now, you brought up something about year-round school.
That's what I'm asking.
With year-round school, if the district decides to take that path, you do not need a waiver.
Yeah.
I know, that's gonna take a lot, that's gonna take a year's worth of conversation.
Yes.
We
So
used to
just-
have
just-
it
That was
at this
a wonderful
district.
thing.
All right?
Did you like it?
I loved it.
The only reason I liked it as a teacher, but my kids were in high school, and they were on a totally different schedule. It was only year-round for elementary and middle.
So the year-round is not designed to say, we have to meet the compensatory requirement of 180 instructional days and still meet the instructional minutes, right? Let's put it that way. But your year-round is almost what Nancy's almost saying. It could look anything you want as long as we're meeting the requirements,
That's what we talked about.
okay?
last time.
And we do not need state approval for a waiver.
Oh, you
I
did
don't think
not?
we-
You do
I
not
thought
need
you
a-
did.
No,
I mean, that's
not for year-round, not for year-round.
Playing that you're a
Right, you
year-round.
can pick your own start date on year round.
Right.
All right, well,
Yeah.
We are.
I don't know.
No,
why
you all
it-
got the power. I'm just
I don't know why it
employed.
wouldn't be if it could accommodate, you know, the calendar, if nothing else.
They will, I mean, so you don't have to show on a calendar that you are.
No, we do have to show that we're meeting all the requirements.
Which it
But
would
we do
be
not
what?
need to write a waiver. I believe it's
Right.
just a form being submitted, being approved by our local Board of Education, and then go from that form being approved by the Board of Education to the South Carolina. And when I spoke to the Lori McNear, who was with us last principal training from the school renewal plan from the state, that was her recommendation, said it would save all the headaches and there's no the state in the law does not define in their statute what year-round looks like,
Yeah.
which lends,
So you can have these same start and end dates that we're currently suggesting and call yourself year-round?
You could start earlier, you wouldn't have to
No, I
start at
understand
their
that.
third Monday
Right.
goofiness. You
Right.
could start earlier, and
So-
then you could build longer breaks in the middle.
in between.
And you
And
could
it's-
build a 90-90.
And you could build a 90-90.
And weather makeup days, because you'd have more flexibility in how many days instead of, yeah.
But there's no stipulation that there can be no more than X number of days
I just see
between.
Robin having a meltdown
That's-
with regard to
that's the
transportation.
question.
That's,
The
yeah,
question would be, one, is there a
Hey, guys, it's kinda
stipulation
hard to
between
hear.
the
Yeah.
terms?
Right. I think that's
I
something
mean,
we need to
between
have a
the,
conversation
between
more
the
than just
quarters
today.
and semesters, because, you know, what we've been doing is like quarter on, 15 days off, et cetera, to make it a year-round component, but now, according to you, we can do what we
According
want.
to the state.
Have,
Right.
I mean, according to you, the state rules
Yes,
are,
sir.
we can have the whole summer off and still call it year-round.
Technically.
Well, it would probably have to be like a little shorter, because you build
Yeah, I
in
know. I
through
mean,
the rest of the
yeah,
year.
but I mean, the whole chunk
Right.
would be one vacation as opposed to, the idea behind year-round intent was no sustained
Most-
education,
and you
pieces
lose the
and
slide.
pieces and pieces.
And lose the slide,
You
right?
lose the slide, right,
Mhm.
so now here goes it, and in between, so then you only need to use the state money for the reading recovery model, just for the most necessary children. So there's things to look at financially, but it's also, we need to get involved with the local daycare. It's not something to make it happen right now, it takes about a year to get there,
Right.
but if that's something that we wanna take the bus that way, we could design it and look at the economic, how, what it may cost or what it may save us, right? That's the other side of that conversation.
Daycares always respond.
Yeah, they
Whatever,
will, because
they
it's
respond
business.
to our calendar.
Yes.
They're business, they're
Yes,
private,
it's
yeah.
business, they are going to.
There's
Okay,
also
so,
extended learning time during that time to help with.
Right.
Yeah.
That's me again,
Oh.
it's alive in there.
okay.
And that's the
So,
district phone ring.
Mary, should we just go finish going through
Yeah.
this at least, and
All
then
right, so-
maybe just, and then,
So we got to March, we decided Good Friday off.
Yes.
April, I am looking at the week of the 12th through the 16th, I believe that was Heritage.
Yes.
Mhm.
yeah.
So what would happen with this schedule right now, realize it, I need to add 2 instructional days of June 1st and 2nd, because I lost 2. And then post-school for the teachers would run 2 days, 1, 2, I might be short one day. I might be short PD day, give me a second on this.
Well,
You guys want to come over here? You sure?
says 96 here.
So we lost 2.
28. But there's no number on the 28.
There's no number on the
28.
28.
You also have a long stretch in May with nothing.
Nothing, and it's all testing and EOCs,
Yeah.
NIV testing and AP testing.
Right.
So it's hard to have anything off in
Yeah.
that
That's in
month.
May.
Yeah.
May is the iron month.
May goes fast, and with
Yeah.
all the testing,
Yeah.
Yeah,
with
May
one
is when
another
the
day off.
rubber
Yeah.
meets the
Yeah.
road.
Yeah, you can see the light.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So are there any breaks in May?
No,
It's so filled
Memorial
with
Day.
testing.
Memorial Day, yeah.
Yeah.
it makes it very hard, it's just that it's subject to all the testing.
Because the 4th is AP, because AP exam will begin the 4th and run through the 14th.
Yeah, you can't take any days off really in May.
So I guess it's not bad to push through a couple days in June.
I don't think that's that bad.
Yeah,
I really don't see the problem with that.
I don't either. Especially just, I mean, this arbitrary ending date of May 31st, I don't think that, and again, people know far enough in advance, and, you know, when I was teaching, I would have so much rather had a few days off in between, and then put a few extra days in June.
So we would have PD on the, on post-school the 3rd and 4th.
And then on a Friday,
Yes.
just sounds complete.
Well, let me just, I gotta go through it again, and I'll go through it a little finer out of here, and then bring it forward to the next academic.
So what would the last day of school for
Right now,
students?
it looks at it would be the second tentatively, but I just have to go back and reconfirm counting the days, Jody. So I don't wanna say that that's written in, because I'm missing a day on the 28th.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be the last day, but kids could be the first.
But we might get some
But I
snow.
have to recount it.
Yeah.
We might get some snow coming
Well,
up.
I do think we should have a weather makeup day. I mean, I do think we should have a weather makeup day in that second
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, so we don't have it in here.
Whether it's the last day of school or not, I mean, if
Well,
nobody
here's
goes,
the thing,
whatever, but.
if you did a PD day,
although-
or a half day there,
I-
and it could end up being a weather makeup day, it would give you a long weekend,
Yeah.
because you would have the
Of the
Friday
Memorial Day.
of the Memorial Day weekend.
Although
But I wanna
principals,
go back through this and count the days though.
Yeah.
I don't wanna take your time now, but I do wanna, all right?
Yeah. Because I,
the principals will love that, so they can come for graduation on those half days. They don't fight for graduation on that half day.
This graduation day is already set.
It's so, these calendars are strange to me, because
On
I
this
grew up in
one.
New
Yeah,
York.
exactly.
I mean, we went to school after, you know,
You went to school.
Labor Day in September is when we started, and then we didn't finish until the end of June.
Yeah, same, yeah, I would swing it up too. You know, I think maybe one of the elephant in the room we haven't talked about, so we pretty much, we're gonna recommend an 85-95. Instructionally and everything else,
Well,
we've
right,
determined
yeah.
that
Well-
the 85-95 is the way to go.
that's why there's two calendars to be looked at and dated, right? Because the one by starting the week earlier gives you the 290s.
Yes.
Right, but that, at this point, is
85, 95, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I just didn't realize we had come to that decision.
Well, that decision came forward by saying yes to ending the semester in December at what's your break.
Right. No, I realize that, it didn't feel fully vetted.
So the question would be, and I'll pose it to the parents and teachers and educators in the room, because I'm already on the other side, you know. Kids coming back from winter break, are they ready to sit for semester exams?
There are losers with whatever decision you make. And so anytime we've asked for opinions, it's 50-50 because it depends on which calendar, based on what you teach or what level your student is, where do you fall in that? The losers for the balanced schedule where the fall goes into January is gonna be kids in AP classes and the dual enrollment and all those other things. I mean, it's not always a huge number of kids, but there's no
well, and I
one
think,
solution.
you know, I think if we also look at May, we know that AP exams start on May 4th. So
Right.
that's 79, that's day 79. So those kids aren't having the benefit of 85 days of instruction, 95.
Well, for their AP test. So
Yeah.
the AP test is not the same thing as their college class. The AP test is what will award them college credit.
College credit.
However, because you've taken your AP test doesn't mean your instruction ends. And so they'll still have the instruction and they'll still be having a rich experience. Will they have as much as they need before they are required to sit for the test? So, I mean, the test isn't the class, so you gotta keep that in mind as well. We need to do our best to prepare them for the test.
They do an EOC and an AP class as well?
Well, if it's US history,
If
it's
it's
US
US
history, an EOC, but they're supposed to do a final in AP
And a
class.
semester exam,
Yeah.
as opposed to.
So I'm just gonna, when this comes to the full board, that is going to be one of the major questions, because, you know, again, the weather makeup days, you know, we don't have that built in. If we do the 85, 95, I mean, I don't know how many we have built in now, but we have had to use up to 4, haven't we, for the last 4 years? Sometimes in years.
Right
we're
now, I
into-
have 3 built in.
And we
There are
get
three
friends
built
and
in?
all.
Is that what
Can
it
be
came to?
waived, and then
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 can be go through the state.
Uh-huh,
So we're covered with the weather makeup days. I need to do a confirmation on the PD days and just count the date, confirm the days of both semesters. I'd like you to go ahead and take the same logic on what we walk through here with the week in advance, starting a week earlier student contact. Are you okay, all right?
Yeah.
All right, with the
Yeah,
idea,
same.
grades due, day off,
Yeah.
and then looking at the stretcher where you have to take some time, a half day, how we agreed here for the half day, are we good with that?
Now, the only thing I'll put forth for the proposed innovation waiver, and I don't know what the opinion would be of this overall, but people really did like fall break. And I think that it might not be a bad idea if you're going to have this waiver to potentially think about teachers reporting to school on the 27th of July, not June, 27th of July, and building yourself in a fall break that could also be weather makeup days all in one.
So instead of come back in August, you want to come back in July?
No, teachers would come back the last week of July, students would come back August 3rd, and then you would have a week off for a fall break in October.
Right, but the readiness for that, and that's gonna be a little larger, is getting the schools ready. Because by doing that, now we've just chopped your readiness for your facilities to be prepared. So I think that would be something, we do have to have conversation with operations regarding the work orders and readiness of our schools. Because that's a chunk piece coming out.
Dave Grisham came in, not Dave, but when somebody from facilities came and said, are you all starting school before August or July? I mean, it's like,
That's a tough one,
I said, there's
because of the
proposal,
readiness of
'cause they're trying to
facilities
get
and
the
only
schools ready.
have enough people to handle readiness. Your window has now shrunk to get all your classrooms ready.
Well, I think if people are told that, and people understand that, no, you can't do that for this reason, then
And
it's
this
much
year,
easier to understand
Nancy, I think
why.
might be hard only because of construction.
I was just
We
gonna
have
say
a
that
lot
I
of
think
construction,
there's
but I
so
think to look
much
at it for maybe another year because of construction this year,
that's already been scheduled.
I know they've done some scheduling. I try to stay away, but I know they, I do.
And you know, this year might be alleviated a little bit by holding true with, election days off and Veterans Day is off. Those are 2 days that we didn't have this year. So it just might alleviate some of that just for this year, but definitely something to look at.
What
But
about
also
going?
something to look at for year-round
I
model.
think, well, that's
Absolutely.
that, going to that, you're right, I think that's like, you have to
Should
plan ahead for that and get
Yes.
everybody, the busing and all that stuff, it's a big change for
And-
this,
We should be looking
coming.
at that in the fall if we wanted to.
What about
especially if we do
year-round.
the, some districts on an earlier start and like some, by cluster.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what about going to schools? A lot of people talking about now about going to schools Monday through Thursday,
But not,
and taking and having Fridays off.
Just on paper.
I mean, I mean that's something I would mind looking at in the future. Looking at going to school Monday through Thursday, and having Fridays off.
There are districts that
That's
are
why I
doing
do
that
it,
with regard to save money on utility, because it does save money on utility, because you're keeping your buildings heated and cooled anyway. They have found that it has saved money, and again, it's a matter of getting your community ready, because
Right.
where are our children gonna be on Friday if I'm working?
Right.
So that would lend to, let's say if we had a 21st century grant, and we actually had strong after-school programs.
Right.
So you take that after-school month program, you lease that space, there's ways of doing, because our kids need to be somewhere.
Right.
That to me is important,
yeah.
Right.
right? Idle mind, idle hands, and everything else happens for children. So it lends for, as an adult, I love it, yes, because we work 10-hour days anyway,
Right.
right? You do. But what about our kids on that day?
I'm not saying that as of next year, but,
No, but
in years to come, I would, I've had a lot of people mention that to me, and so I'm just,
The other,
I'm still about what we're planning to throw it out there.
the other problem, the other negative with that people always throw up are the sports. The athletes, because kids would be, so you have to extend your school day by an hour every day to make up that time, an hour and a half. So your kids are gonna be missing even more instruction to go off and play your sports. That's always the thing that.
For the Fridays
For the
off.
Fridays
Yeah, for the
off.
Friday off,
Yeah,
yes.
but that year round, I think that it would be
So
very interesting.
for the Friday off, wait a minute, for the Friday, so for the Friday off, they have to leave school early for what
So
reason?
if you're doing gains within district, it's a moot point, it doesn't matter, but if you're doing gains from district to district,
Uh-huh.
Right.
and if that district is not on the same time as here. Instead of me leaving for a game at 1 o'clock, I'm still leaving at 1 o'clock, but I'm going to Jasper County, and I'm now missing 3 hours of school versus maybe an hour and a half.
Because you have to increase the length of the day. Of the
To
4
make
days
up.
that you're
Right.
in school, you have to
Right.
increase the length of the day to make up for
So
that
5
fifth
or
day.
5:30.
Yeah,
Because
the
you-
school's gonna occur
You
at
have
the
to,
same time.
we're required hours.
And you know where it might hit us as well as transportation.
Right.
That's where it might hit us the hardest, because if everyone, I don't know, if there's another operations conversation, see if they can do the logistics.
And especially if not all the districts have the schools on the same times,
Right.
like if the clusters have different start times.
So I'm gonna take the
Exactly.
recommendations for both calendars. I'm looking at both start dates, and I'm hearing maybe take a look at what may it look if it was a year-round model, or it's shifting some of the holiday times, looking at February, looking at a shift in that April, because it might be something for later on
Yeah,
for
let's start the
conversation.
conversation.
Oh, I think,
Are you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
and I think that we found with the year-round schools, times that we had that chance for remediation. We used to be 6 on, 3 off, 6 on, 3 off, and there was such tremendous, I think there was some
What
real,
was that? I'm just trying to think, we have to
Go
go
back
back
and look at the
14
day.
years.
See, I want to be able to look at the
12
data.
years ago, yeah.
Our data bank only goes to starts at 2011 to do comparative analysis.
So,
Because I would
We
like
have
to
the
see that.
calendars in HR
Yeah.
of the year.
Yeah.
We
It was-
still have all of the calendars.
my kids are in, Chris graduated in
we're not
04,
proposing that kind of
and
year
it was
round.
06, so it was right around somewhere right.
Yeah, I know.
Are we?
Okay?
I'm not trying to take care of them now, especially talking about babysitting.
Yeah, so, I'm looking at the
School start
calendar.
time. One thing at a time.
Excuse me.
Our typical day is the third
Third
Wednesday
Wednesday.
of the month, and that would be March 18th, back at the district office. March 18th, 4:30, district office.
4:30, thank you. Our
Mary,
next
when does this have to be in?
Well, that would be my question. When is the board meeting? Would be the following week?
The board meeting is the day before.
So is it possible to do this in reverse?
Question, were we doing this, we had this on the work session
Session.
schedule
Yes.
for next Friday to present to the full board. Is that still good or not?
I think we need to take it off, come back to academic, and then present to the full board, and leave the strategic plan on the work session. Are we good with that?
Robin, thank you for saying that,
Yes,
because
thank
when
you.
Mary and I last spoke, we were going to bring it to
Yes.
the full board at the
Because
work
I thought we
session,
would've-
but,
Had more yes, no?
hey,
Yeah.
you know, you're the one doing the work
Right,
with it.
exactly.
The
Yes.
only,
You
the
just
only
tell us.
question
So-
I have, when do we typically approve the calendar for the next?
People are getting antsy.
They are.
Yeah, and I've been saying with
We've
at
done
the
it
work
in March.
session.
We've done it
Okay.
in March.
Yeah, so,
Or do you want to have an earlier academic meeting?
to vet it
Yeah.
before presenting
What
it
about
on the
March
17th?
Or about the week before, March 11th, and then we could present it at the 17th board meeting? Does that work for you?
It doesn't, but you guys
Oh.
can still meet.
I mean, it's the 19th, so there's no way you're going to have it prior to. Here's reality.
What?
What's
You know,
on the 19th?
Today's the 19th,
Oh,
Right.
right?
So Mary, this is when
Okay.
the next school board meeting is the
It's the
17th.
17th?
Right, and our typical academic committee meeting is here, so
So-
if you guys can meet on the 11th, I'm gonna be out of
Is
town.
that the second Wednesday?
Yes.
That would be an operations committee
Okay.
meeting if they have that.
Can we do the 16th or the 9th?
I can't do the 9th, but that doesn't mean you
I could do
guys.
the
The
16th.
16th. Does that give you enough
We're gonna
turnaround?
give you enough turnaround
It'll
time.
give it time. I learned to leave my calendar open on board days.
Okay,
I mean it with respect, because
Yeah.
there's just things
Yes,
happening. It's a
right.
busy day, so anything I have to refine, I could get it ready for the next day if it's okay. Because the question would be, we haven't updated into board docs 5 days in advance.
It has to, should have it on that Thursday
Right, so
prior
that's
to
gonna
the
be an
board
issue.
meeting.
Mm.
So we need to look at the 9th. In order to have it to the board
Mhm.
docs 5 days in advance, I need to have the Monday.
Well, we'll probably be having an agenda setting meeting on the 9th.
because you guys know that's what happens if it's not available. It's like, we didn't really have time
Yeah,
to look at
yeah.
this,
yes,
and
and
we
this
can't
is a
make
big one too.
decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That
then-
really matters.
For some people it does.
Yeah, it does for me. It does. Yeah. I must need to have it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're looking at, Mary, tell me again when you think might
Somebody asked you that, Mr.
you
Kelly.
wanna do.
Somebody asked you that.
Are you available the week of the first week of March? I have the 7th is job fair, I have to speak on the 4th. I don't know, let me just check my calendar. Either the 4th or the 5th.
4th, 5th, or 6th. We're not here the 4th, we're gonna be
Right.
in, Columbia.
Columbia,
The 5th or the 6th.
Columbia
Is the first
Bogota?
Thursday, anything?
Nothing on the first Thursday.
Pick a date.
Yeah, we're on the
Okay.
first Thursday, Mary, so.
That would be March
March
5th.
5th.
And
That's-
today's the
that's-
19th, and
yeah.
it's a
2
leap year,
weeks.
right?
Yeah.
So,
2 weeks is good.
Okay,
So your next
So
meeting
we're
will be
looking at
3
potentially the
nights.
5th?
yeah,
March 5th. Let me just confirm.
At the district office?
We could make that happen.
okay.
4:30.
4:30.
4:30. This is gonna be calendar only.
Calendar only.
Okay, and then then you'll keep March 18th for, then that would be back here.
I don't know that we're keeping March 18th. I mean,
I say we just keep the 5th.
We have to approve textbooks. You have
Oh.
to approve textbooks,
Okay. Oh,
Oh,
and we're not getting anything into the 13th.
well, can we approve, can
So
we
do
do
you
that?
have to bring that back to us?
it has to go to board.
Has to go to
To the full
board.
board,
So that's fine, 18th, right?
yeah. It can go, we can put it on the,
I mean, sorry,
on the
17th.
17th board meeting
So
agenda.
That's your call.
my only question is where on the board agenda is gonna textbook would fall? Do you want
Under
it
board business.
put it on the board business? Okay,
Yeah.
so can we bring that forward during the agenda setting, so that we're good?
So we don't need to bring it back here. We
No,
need that
so-
enough
Yeah, we-
information.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Heather.
Textbook. 3:18,
3:17, no?
3:17.
I thought that's the board meeting.
3:17 is the
3:17.
board meeting.
So what are we doing with the textbooks?
Full board.
On the 17th.
What are we
Adoption.
doing with it? Adopting
Because we've already
the
looked at it.
recommendation.
We just, yeah, you weren't here, we did that earlier, we kind of went through some of the textbooks that were to be
What about
adopted.
the technology plan?
Technology
That you
plan
did
I
on
could
the
bring.
18th.
It's not required to the state. I had it done for us. I had it cleaned out to bring to academic committee. It was rewritten and refined.
It doesn't have to go to the state?
Note, the state put an extension since they're redoing the template. It is not a requirement, but I
Okay.
still had it redone.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm taking this
No, I
out.
think that was appropriate.
Yeah,
because
I can
it
add
was-
it
it had
in.
expired.
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
It had to be
Agenda.
redone. It had to
Can
be
I see
redone.
it?
So did
Yes.
we, are we gonna meet on the 18th, or are we saying no at this
No.
time?
We could
Understand
save
it's a
it.
draft.
We could save it.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Alright,
I'm just
So,
curious
let me
what
just
they're
ask,
talking about
I think that
each
we
day.
do, Mary, I think that it would be good to, we need an update on the tech plan, we need an update on special education. I know that, I didn't bring my PEs with me. I think we have to bring 1.1.
Yeah.
1.1.
We need 1.1.
to come back.
I would need that to be after the calendar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So the 18th.
So then
So
we want,
the
we still
18th,
want to,
yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
You're killing me, Holmes.
Yes, ma'am.
So 18 is PE 1.1 and tech plan, correct?
Tech plan.
For now.
For now. Change.
So technically, then we could still do the textbooks on the 18th. instead
Well, we
of-
could, but then
Oh, no.
the board meets the
The
day
board-
before.
There's
Yeah.
therefore, so
And then the board
yeah.
won't meet again until April. When does it have to be finished by?
It's approved
Yeah.
by March.
Yeah,
So
and
we
you know
got-
what,
we-
it
we-
has to be a
we've done
full
it,
board
we just
decision
wanna-
anyway,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be doing the strategic plan at your workshop,
At
correct?
the
Yeah,
workshop.
strategic plan we have on Friday,
Okay,
so I have at 1:32. Is an hour enough?
it's more than enough.
Okay, because then I'm taking the school calendar off.
Yes,
It may
Which
not
is
be
fine.
at 1:30.
Correct. That's the tentative.
Okay. You give me a hint there, right?
Huh?
Okay.
Well, I have to pick up my kids at 3:45, and I want to see your strategic plan. This is
Okay.
fun. I watch it on video if I
I
can.
gotta go,
Okay.
guys.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Mel.
All right. Thank you,
All
Mel.
right.
Thank you.
We've adjourned,
All right,
yes.
adjourned?
We've
Okay,
adjourned.
great.
It's unanimous.
Gosh, everybody, thank you so much
Thank you.
for all the input.
Thank you.